In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest will be Tamra Asmuth, and she is the owner of One Hip Chic, an eyeglass company. So stay tuned for our next edition of It's About Money. Hello and welcome to It's About Money. My guest is Tamra Asmuth, and she owns One Hip Chic.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
I like the glasses in your shop, so I thought I'd invite you here because of the business model that you've created and that a lot of people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like our viewers to know about how you got started in the business of being an optician and so on.
Oh.
So tell me about your business and how you got started.
Well, I actually was going to school for computer programming 34 years ago and got a job in a chain store in the mall, and I really fell in love with the business. So while I was working at that chain store, I would help people choose their eyeglass frames and then turn them over to the optician to help them with lenses. Eventually, I started making glasses. I started grinding the lenses for the frames. And then I had 2 different jobs with private doctors. So that all was 16 years of the first part of my career, and 18 years ago I opened One Hip Chic.
Oh, great. I love the name of your business. How did you come up with that?
Well, I was working for one of those private doctors' offices, and I was complaining that I felt that Rochester, there was a need for something different here in Rochester, some more unique product and artful product, more interesting frames. So I was complaining to someone else in the optical business, and he said, "You're One Hip Chic, why don't you open up your own place?" I'd sort of thought of it, I'd been kind of thinking maybe I would want to open up my own place, but when he said that, it just started to make things happen for me in my
isn't
mind.
That nice?
So,
how wonderful is that? Does he remember saying that to
He
you?
doesn't remember, but I remember.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Sometimes
what matters.
we say things and we don't know the impact that we're having on other people. I think that's true. So.
And that was the light bulb that said, why not?
It was, yeah.
So tell me about your eyeglasses, because they are unique, they're different, like what you're wearing today is different.
Yeah.
So tell me about how you make those selections. And they're definitely artful, that's for sure.
Yes.
And I love that, eyeglasses can be part of your outfit, of your ensemble. So tell me about how you make your selections.
Well, art is my other passion. I think in another life I will be a museum curator, so now I feel like I'm an eyeglass curator, which I love. So the manufacturers or the designers I carry, they are small boutique eyewear companies. A lot of people don't even they don't know the names of these designers because they're not mass produced. These are designers where their real passion is eyewear, and they want to create something unique. It's like art to wear. And so firstly, that's what I'm looking for and also companies that have, and people who have real integrity. That's the first step. That's my first step.
Do you go to like shows and stuff like that?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Spring and fall are the 2 times of year where companies release all of their new eyewear. So I do go to spring and fall shows in Europe and in the United States.
Oh, how cool is that?
It's great.
Yeah, that's great. So you bring some designs from there to see
Yes.
if people would like it. So it's nice to have that in Rochester too. So, and how do the manufacturers, because they're smaller, do they tend to stay in business, or is it like fad? Tell me a little bit about it, because you've got your standard names, but in the smaller.
Yeah, I don't really look at the eyewear I carry as following a trend or a fad. It's, again, if you look at it as a piece of art, Monet's never going out of style, and neither is Van Gogh. So I feel like that's more my eyewear. I have a customer who has a pair of glasses that she got from me 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
She still wears them, and she still gets compliments on them. So I feel like they don't really go out of style. They're just so unique.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. So in her case, it's updating the lenses.
Yes.
And you talked about grinding the lenses. We know what that means. What does grinding the lenses mean?
Well, prescription lens initially, part of the prescription, putting the prescription in the lens, it's about the thickness of the lens material, the curve of the lens. And initially, when a prescription lens is made, it's just a big round, it's called the lens blank. It's a big round blank. That has to be cut to fit into the frame. So it has to be shaped
I see.
to fit into the frame.
And then the prescription has to fit that somehow in
Correct.
terms of its convexity or
Right,
whatever.
exactly.
I see. Okay. I mean, I heard the grinding. I know what the outcome is, but didn't really know the process that came with it. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Besides having a change in prescription that you need to have either a new pair or new lenses, when is the time that people generally change their glasses, their eyeglasses? Do people usually have an assortment of them, or?
Well, my customers do. You know, up until the 1970s, really, eyeglasses were looked at as strictly as a medical device. So people were changing their frames once every 2 years because on average that's when most people have their eyes examined. But now they really, more and more glasses are looked at as a fashion accessory. So for me, my customers, I'd say at least once a year. I have some people who come in and purchase 3 or 4 pair at a time. Again, looking at it as a fashion accessory, and you know, we all have different facets to our personalities. And eyeglasses, you can wear them based even on your mood, who you're seeing, what you're wearing, and just addressing all the different facets of your personality. Really.
Yeah, well, that's cool. And you also carry sunglasses.
Yes.
So tell me about sunglasses. I bought this pair of sunglasses, which I ruined, but then it was fixed, which was wonderful, because I had fallen and hurt myself and hurt the glasses too. But they're different kinds, you know, so I got a polarized one, which I didn't know what it was, and figured out, oh, gee, that helps the glare.
Yes.
But what other types of sunglasses are there that people should be thinking?
Well, the 2 main categories, and the first thing you should consider is if you want polarized or non-polarized. Polarized lenses come in just a few different colors, brown, gray, or a gray-green color. Those are the most popular colors. In a polarized lens, it's 2 lenses with a filter in between, and that filter helps to cut horizontal glare, so glare off the hood of a car or off the surface of water. So first you determine if you want polarized or not polarized. From there, if you, say, wanted not a polarized lens, there are many different lens color choices. Basically what a lab does is they just take a clear lens and they dip it in a dye to color the lens. I've had people say, oh, I want this sweater matched, I want this candle matched, I want my scarf matched.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so there are many choices with an unpolarized lens. But it's not going to cut that horizontal glare completely away. It'll be toned down, but it won't be completely taken away.
Okay, because these days, you know, driving, you have a lot of the LED,
Right.
you know, lamps in vehicles. It's like, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes at night it's hard to see, but you can wear your sunglasses
Right,
at
yeah,
night. And
that would be
like,
blocking out too much light.
yeah, well, that's good to know. I didn't realize the differences with that. So is there one more popular than the other, or really depends on preference?
Really depends on preference. You know, a polarized lens is certainly considered a premium sun lens.
I see, I see. So it's not something like you could choose lenses and polarize it. It just comes in those 3 different shades. And
mostly those 3 shades, yeah.
I see. Okay, that's good to know. So now, how do you keep up with the latest styles? You go to the shows. Are there other, and how do you pick them? Do you, like some of them are probably, you like them for yourself, right? That's how I pick some things. But then how do you like say, oh gee, somebody might like it this way? I guess that might be a very subconscious thing that you do, but I just wondered if there's a science in the selection.
Well, first of all, as far as the manufacturers that I carry go, I really want to be sure that they have their own unique story to tell, that there's not a lot of overlapping, so they have their own unique voice. So I'm always looking for an eyeglass manufacturer who just has a different take on eyewear design. Beyond that, choosing the specific styles, I certainly I'll look at you know, a new frame style and say, oh, I love that, I'd love to wear that, but really mostly I'm channeling my customers. I think about specific customers, like, oh, this person, you know, Donna would look great in this. Oh, Ben he would love this frame. So I'm really thinking about specific customers when I'm buying.
I see. And selections have to do with face, probably nose, you know, bridging nose.
Exactly, face shape, width, size, and also complexion. I'm constantly studying color and what colors work for different complexions and hair color. Some colors are great for certain complexions and some colors are terrible. So I always want to have a a broad range of color in my shop as well.
Sure, because if it's black or just a wire rim, it's not as
Right.
specific, but if it's a little bit more dedicated in the
Right.
color, you want to make sure it fits. That's great.
Mhm.
Over the years that you've been in business, even before you had your own business, what has been some of the trends that you've seen? Has there been a lot of changes with eyewear?
It's constantly changing, frames and lenses, really. So frames, you know, metal frames used to just be a mix of metal alloys, but I feel like right now the big trend is titanium in metal frames, which means that they're light, they're hypoallergenic, they're very, very durable. Also, recently I'm seeing, like the frames I have on today are made of wood. They're hand-made of wood in Italy.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm seeing companies using different frame materials that haven't been used in a long time, like wood or buffalo horn. So more exquisite, unique materials. And then as far as lenses go, progressive lenses, you know, no-line bifocals, we used to call them, those lenses are constantly being changed based on how we are, how we're living. For instance, there's a progressive lens now that I love to use, and it's really made for people who are using a lot of handheld technology, like our smartphones and our laptops and our Kindles and iPads. So lens companies are keeping up with our lifestyles, really.
Sure. And you mentioned no line lenses, which in the past there's always been a line, but that's probably less popular these days.
It is really less popular. Lenses with a line, they're really just accounting for two focal points, distance and near. And again, now so many of us are working on a computer or looking at our phones, so we need that other focal point, which is considered an intermediate distance, and that's what a no line helps with.
Oh, I see, because in between there's that intermediate distance. I see. Well, thank you for that education, because I wouldn't have known that. So, let's talk about people knowing about your business. You're located in Park Avenue, but it's not like you walk around and you have the visual. And like if you're at a mall, you would see a shop. Now, how do people find your location? Because you've got a great location, but I just kind of wonder, how did you decide that you would be not in the line of people walking by, passerby?
Yeah, my shop is really, what I love about my shop is that it's so personal, and I really want to take the time to get to know my customers and to know about them and to find the perfect pair of glasses for them. So I like that there's not 20 people all the time in my shop, and there's a lot of people walking in and out. It's become a destination point. So people know about me before they even come in. I'm grateful that my product is walking advertisement for me. So a lot of people come to me. It's based on word of mouth. They say to someone, many times a stranger, "I love your glasses," and thankfully my customers say, "One Hip Chic. I got them at One Hip Chic."
I see.
So I really appreciate that, although I do advertise as well. But still, even with over the years, with all the advertising I've done, mostly my new customers come to me by word of mouth.
So that's a business decision you'd made, that's the way you would do the business rather than having a lot of high volume.
Right.
It's really the personalization, which I think is a good point for our viewers, like someone who goes in business. It doesn't have to have the pedestrian view immediately, but it's just the reputation. And you're absolutely right. People walk around as an advertisement, and it's easy to remember your name and all that. So that's really good. So we're going to take a quick break. It's been very fun. My guest is Tamra Asmuth, and she is the owner of One Hip Chic, and we'll be right back. And we're back. My guest is Tamra Asmuth, and she's the owner of One Hip Chic, and she's here talking to us about getting a business started and her business of eyewear. So let's talk about, again, starting the business. You had worked for a shop at the mall, and you got experience and decided to do business on your own, and you've been successful at it for a couple decades now. So first, tell me about the education that you had to secure to be an optician.
Well, to be an optician, well, the first thing is you need a high school diploma. From there, you can start to get your license in one of two ways. You can either go to a 2-year school for ophthalmic dispensing. The closest school to Rochester is in Buffalo at Erie Community College. So you could go there, or you can get a trainee permit through the New York State Education Department, an apprentice for 2 years under the guidance of a licensed optician, optometrist, or ophthalmologist. So it would basically be on-the-job training for 2 years in conjunction with book work that is approved by the New York State Education Department. So that's the kind of the more formal training. And then from there, after that 2-year period, you would take a written and then a practical examination. And once those are passed, then you are a licensed optician in New York State. Every state has its own licensing requirements.
I see. And would you put New York a little bit tighter in its regulations?
Yeah.
Or is
Yes.
it, typically is, right?
Yes.
So it's probably a good
Yeah.
thing for
It
consumers.
is.
So,
Yeah.
So that's, now, which path did you take? Did you take?
I took the apprentice.
Okay,
path.
all right. Oh, that's great, because you're already in the business
Right.
anyway for doing that. Now, so to get started in business, usually people require capital, and you've been in business almost 20 years at this time, and so crowdfunding wasn't a deal back then. So how did you come up? How did you come up with the seed money to start your business?
Well, first of all, I sat down and it took 9 months to write a business plan. I wanted a really solid business plan that would become my business Bible. So that I really didn't even have. I had all this pre-thought about how the business would be run, and really right down to the pens I would use. But even they had to be unique. And then I showed that business plan to 2 family members, and they each loaned me about 30% of what I needed, and the final amount was loaned to me by a private investor.
I see. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Again,
great.
after reading my business plan, which
Sure.
was great that someone I really didn't even know we had a leap of faith. I was willing to put faith in me, I guess.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
So tell me about creating a business plan, because it's a hurdle for a lot of people. There's resources available in our community to put a business plan together, but how did you go about doing that?
I took a book out at the library.
Okay,
You remember the
brilliant.
library, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
There was no
Go,
feels like there wasn't online research either, so I was taking a book out at the library to see what things do I have to think about, and it is about overhead and ad marketing, a mission statement. I mean, it caused me to think about every single thing about my business.
Yeah,
So.
that's great. So I'm going to ask you something I didn't give you a heads up on, but tell me about your mission statement. I'm always interested in what people want to do. Like,
It really is about creating relationships with my customers and providing the best customer service and high quality, unique, artful eyewear.
no, that's great. That's is exactly what your business demonstrates. So that's good. So what is the difference between a dispensing optician and an optician? Is that the same?
There's no difference.
Oh, there's no difference. Okay.
And again, you can throw ophthalmic dispenser into there. That's really our official name. So.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the same. Optician is the quickest way to say that.
Yes.
So now over internet, we talked about that. That has made a lot of impact on many different businesses. So how has that affected your business?
For me personally, I have not seen that. I have not seen my business affected by it. I think that, first of all, the products that I carry, you can't buy online. So I don't have that sort of competition. But I think that people who are buying online, it's just a different market than my market. I think it might be people who want a lower priced product. They don't really care about the personal service, or they just want to sit at home in their pajamas and buy their glasses and make that decision. It's just a whole different market for me.
And they're probably the kind of people who lose their glasses all the time.
Right. I thought that too. Like, it might be someone who's kind of looking at their glasses as just disposable.
Or just didn't know where they left it.
It's not my customer.
I've never purchased one online, but I just kind of wonder, like, if you lose your glasses all the time, and that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Before
Yes.
I needed to wear prescription reading glasses, I had a lot of readers,
Yeah.
and they're all over the place. But I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I've got like 6 of them, and I
Yes.
can't find any of them right now. So
Yeah.
It's, oh well, you need to really tie it down to the neck and have that available. So now, how do you mentioned one of your customers has been with you for 19 years. It sounds like you have a
Yeah.
lot of repeat
I
customers.
really do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I do. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of them I really think of them as friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. Yeah, you're right. Getting to know their
Yeah.
and what
Oh,
they do,
yeah.
because it matters how the look that they want to portray.
Absolutely, and of course, you know, I've watched children grow. I've watched people get married and have children. I mean, to have that relationship for so long, seeing them maybe once a year and being able to spend an hour or two with them, you just get to know a lot. So.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great. That's wonderful. So, as you run your business, what type of overhead do you have? I mean, we talked about the business plan, but what kind of overhead does your business carry?
Well, certainly my inventory is big overhead, and the typical equipment, rent, gas and electric, online access. I know I'm forgetting things. Let me just think about my QuickBooks now.
So the unique part
typical
for
things.
you is the inventory is just different
Yeah.
because it's eyewear. Yeah.
Right.
But what's nice is that your inventory doesn't, I don't think, expires, right?
No,
would it ever
not so
expire?
much,
Yeah,
no.
right. Especially if they're unique. It's not like,
Right.
oh, that was 2 years ago. But
Yeah.
if it's relevant and
Yeah,
people
I
like it.
usually wouldn't have something for 2 years, and that's the other thing. Many times when a frame sells, I replace it with something different so that my stock is constantly changing.
I see.
So,
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
that's-
I usually would not have something for 2 years.
Okay. Now, people also say that they replace their eyewear not that just because their prescription has changed, but because there's a change in life that they want to demonstrate or show.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Does that happen
Oh
with
my
your
gosh.
customers?
Oh yes, absolutely. A midlife crisis. We're redefining ourselves, a new job. Someone's getting married in the family. You know, I think you or anyone would say there are just different chapters in our lives, or we just kind of want to mix things up a little bit, and that's you know, that it's an easy thing to do. Just change your eyewear and change your look.
Yeah, that's great. Now, when people buy their eyeglasses, what kind of catastrophes happen? Like for me, I shared that I was wearing my eyeglasses and I fell and I smashed it, you know, and thank goodness it was, you know, fixed. But what kind of catastrophes have people?
Dogs and cats love eyewear, I'll tell you that. Puppies
Oh.
and kittens love
Okay.
eyewear. They love to chew temples and you know, I can't tell you how many lenses I've seen with teeth marks in them. I've had people run over their glasses, put their glasses on top of the car as they're loading their car, and then back up and the glasses come off and they run over their glasses. I think one of my favorites was the woman who was in Hawaii and somehow was on the rim or doing some sort of tour at the top of a volcano, and she looked down and her glasses fell down in.
Goodbye to that
I
one.
heard going into the ocean with their glasses on, and they.
Sure.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories.
Yeah, but those are unrecoverable. At least
Yes,
from
some
mine,
of them-
I was
yes,
you were able
right.
to help me get that fixed. So, anyways, so would you say that the market is crowded for dispensing opticians? I mean, for the business that you're in, is that like if somebody wanted to go into it, is it a crowded market or is it just a matter of finding your niche?
Do you mean going into being an optician?
Yes.
I think if you're a licensed optician, you could find a job in Rochester. We have a rich optical history. There are a lot of optical shops in Rochester of all different kinds, you know, from the warehouse, you know, Sam's Club, BJ's optical department, to One Hip Chic, to chain stores, to private doctor's offices. Again, I think if you're a licensed optician in Rochester, you're going to find a job here.
Oh, that's good. That's good to
Yeah.
know. And then in terms of having your own business, of course, it varies because you could
It
work
does.
for a company
Yes.
or a physician, or you could do it yourself.
Right.
Actually, how does that work? Many physicians who are optometrists, is that right, have their own shop
Right.
to buy the glasses and have an
Yes.
optician on site. But do you find that they come to you anyway? I mean, how?
I do, because I don't even have a doctor on the premises. So all of my all of my customers are bringing in their prescriptions from their doctor's office.
I see, and there's just not enough variety, or they like the
Right.
offerings that you have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just wondered how that is. So in terms of getting to know, like as a business owner, you had talked about advertising. You do print advertising? Do you also do internet advertising? What other ways, besides the people advertising for you,
Right.
wearing the glasses?
Yeah.
That, you know.
Well, I do have a website. I have an active Facebook page. As far as I do print advertising, 585 magazine, Man's Jewelers, their biannual magazine, which is beautiful. Little Theater, the screen ads. I try to support help to support a few art shows a year. And this wouldn't be considered advertising, but it is important to me to give back. So I'm often donating or supporting charitable causes, the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester or Willow Domestic Violence Center. So again, I wouldn't consider it advertising, but the name One Hip Chick is out there even through those places.
No, that's beautiful. That's great. You're right. I think that it's good to give back to the
Yeah.
community that you serve. So that's
Absolutely.
really fantastic. And it's just selecting the market, the place where you advertise. It's the market that you might be working
Right.
with. Yeah, so probably like in a long-term care facility, you wouldn't market to that.
Yeah.
Although I shouldn't, but that's not probably your primary market.
Yeah.
So
And most of my 75% of my customers are women. So the Breast Cancer
Ah.
Coalition or
Okay.
Willow Domestic Violence Center, they're about women. They're women geared.
I
So
see.
it's just my way of giving back to women.
I see.
Really.
But although 75% of your customers are women, they're not. Is there the men are still served? And it's not-
Absolutely.
No, our lenses, like there was that Jerry Seinfeld show where people say, "Oh, that's a woman's frame." Would you find that to be the case?
There are, I think, my cat eyes. I can't picture a man wearing
Yeah, right,
these.
right.
Some are distinctly women's. Many frames, though, are really more geared for both genders.
I see. Is there's an age group that you serve, or it's just really across the board?
It's pretty across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have people in their 20s, and I have people, close to 80. So
I see.
Yeah.
So to me, what actually is admirable about your business, what I like about it, is that you found your niche and you're not worried about the competition. You do what you need to do
No.
to make your business stand out.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to think about, because sometimes people go into business and just think of the hurdles rather than the solutions to the hurdles.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I was excited to have you in the show and talk
Yeah.
about your way of
Thank you.
doing business. So
Thank you.
that's really great. Well, I wish you the best. I mean,
you.
are you planning on any changes, new things, or just kind of always new things, obviously, with
Always
your
new
offerings?
things, yeah.
But it's a business that you can have for a long time,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
It's not a lot of heavy lifting. It's actually
No.
kind of fun.
I love it. It truly is my passion. I'm absolutely doing the right thing in my life. I love it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking the
you.
time to be here and allowing me to interview you and talk about your success and also how you serve the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our guest is Tamra Asmuth, and she's the owner of One Hip Chick. And I'm Nanette Nocon. It's about money. Until next time.